Psalm 27, 1 through 3. The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? When evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. Though an army deploys against me, my heart will not be afraid. Though a war breaks out against me, I will still be confident.
Well, good morning, church. We'll just start off with this, that it's going to be a little bit different morning than it normally is when I preach. So bear with me, is that this morning I'm going to be, instead of just preaching the text per se, I'm going to be doing what is called a narrative sermon. Most of you probably have seen it, if not all of you. Pastor Ed did it months ago. Very memorable. It should be in your memory. So with that said, when it comes to this, we'll be covering all of chapter 7, as you see from the slide, Judges 7 verses 1 to 25. So we won't be, per se, reading the text. Sorry if I'm just getting ready. I'm getting dressed. To add to the effect, I want to make it believable. And by the way, this is Chris Arnold, so thank you. I don't know if Chris is here, but thank you for this. So, when it comes to this, I'm just going to give a quick summary of the text before I get into character. Judges chapter 7 is about when Gideon's army goes from 32,000 to 300, and then it's also when he takes over the Mennonite camp and claims victory. But there's some bumps in the road in that. But we will go deeper into the text when we go into the after class, or we can. So, with that said, we're going to get started soon. But I'm going to be taking on, you might be thinking like, oh, he's going to take on Gideon, because we've been talking about Gideon, but I'm not. I'm actually going to be taking on the perspective, the point of view that I think his servant Purah, I'm probably pronouncing it wrong, but his perspective, because it is most likely believed that he's, like it says, most translations says Gideon's servant Purah, but it's actually most believed that he was the armor and shield bearer of Gideon. So he would have been close, he would have been with him, and would have known a lot of the details. So I'm going to take on his perspective throughout this chapter as I'm taking it on. Sorry, I've been told that, oh, I see now, I sees. There we go, sorry. Thank you, Pastor Ed. So, with that said, but I promise you I won't do any accents with my character, especially no Brooklyn one. But let's begin. I'm just going to, next time I talk, I won't be Pastor Mark. Ooh, that was loud. Shalom. Thank you for having me here this morning. I apologize if I seem a little tired or groggy this morning, because I just came back from this big, unbelievable, amazing battle. And also I had my notes here because I didn't want to miss any information or any details about the battle, so I want to make sure I highlight them all for you just correct and just right. Because again, this is an amazing, unbelievable battle. Like, if I were to tell you, wouldn't believe it if I told you it, but y'all look like some intelligent people here, for the most part. No, y'all look like intelligent people. So I think you can do this. I think you can grasp it, but remember, though, what I'm about to say, it actually happened. It's a true story. It's a true event. It's part of my Jewish history. It is part of the Jewish history. It's a real event that happened. So, as I tell you, I know it might sound unbelievable, but it happened. It's true. So just bear with me and don't just take my word. Just trust the Spirit of God. So, I don't even know where to begin, because it's just one of those events that you just want to start and talk about everything all at the same time. But I'll start with my boss, with my leader. his name is Jerubbaal, but I've been told that you might know him better as Gideon, so I'll just refer to him as Gideon, just so you guys don't get confused and all that stuff. So he was my leader. He helped fight through the battle. He helped lead the charge. But Gideon came to me one time during one of the days, and he just started telling me how we should start benching some of our troops. And I was like, "Oh, that's a weird idea. Like what about going to battle? I don't think we should be benching any of them. But like, how many were you thinking? Getting like 10, 20, like 100? Are you going to bench Nathaniel? Because let's be honest, Nathaniel's only here because of his dad. So let's bench him." But so I asked him, and he said, "Oh, no, way more than that. I don't know exactly, but it's going to be way more." He told me that Adonai himself told him that the troops, that there were too many of them. So he said, so to help dwindle it down, he said to address the troops that if any of them are afraid or fearful, that they should, that they're able to not fight this one out. And I told Gideon, he's like, I know these men. I know them. Like they might be scared, they might be fearful, but they're willing to fight. Like they're not cowards. They're willing to go into the fight even if they're scared. But of course, Gideon's the leader, so he was adamant about obeying and following through what God has commanded him. So he addressed the troops. And they raised their hands, even though I wanted to say, "Hey, put the hands down," but I didn't. So, you know how many hands were raised? It wasn't 10, it wasn't 20, it wasn't even 100. 22,000. We had 32,000 troops, so more than half of our troops raised their hands like, "Yeah, this is pretty scary stuff. Like, this is no joke." So they raised their hands and they were dismissed back to their campsites, to their tribes. I was just like, whoa, now we got 10,000. I mean, that's no 32,000, but we can work with 10,000. We can work with 10,000. I know that. I mean, after all, we left Egypt without having to fight anyone. So I think we can fight the Midians with 10,000. I think we can do that. But Gideon came back to me again and was just saying, like, does Celine know that Adonai told him that there are still too many troops? For Israel might elevate themselves over me and say, "I saved myself." I couldn't believe it. Like I couldn't believe Adonai. I couldn't believe Gideon. It's like, because did the Lord still want us to live? Did He still want us to like fight? Like, I was like, I'm not believing that He's wanting us to live, because less than 10,000 against the Midianites, they are already oppressing us, and you want us to go with less now? But again, Gideon was adamant about wanting to obey the command of God. So he did just that. He told the troops to go by the river, the spring that was right by where we were camped. And we had about 300 men that cupped the water into their hands and brought it to the mouth. And then everyone else, this is the nature of men right here. They just put their face right into the water and just drank it. Wild animals. But so I would think, like, well, it has to be the 300 that was sent home, right? But no, Adonai tells Gideon to send the people that did not cup their hands with the water to the mouth, and he sent them, he benched them. I was like, 300? We went from 32,000 to 300 troops. Like, I don't get it. But those troops that were sent home didn't take it lightly, though. They were a little hot-headed afterwards, even though they just drank some water, because they left all their stuff for us to carry. They left their torches, their pitchers, their shofars, and we just had to carry it, pick it up. I mean, it is hard to find a good soldier nowadays, I'll be honest. But so we had all their stuff, and they just left. So I think I said the word shofar. So for those of you that aren't Jewish or aren't accustomed to our custom, this is a shofar for your, I believe you speak the English language here. So it's a ram's horn. But we just call it shofar. It's our Jewish Hebrew term for it. So they left this in the torches and pitchers. And so it was a lot, but we at least had extra stuff to use for battle, though, if we needed it. And we used the shofar mainly for battle, in case you were wondering. But I could tell, though, Gideon, after we were drilling down to 300, that Gideon wasn't sure about it. He had that look in his eye that he usually gets, that doubt, the question, the fear, like that uncertainty of whether or not he heard Adonai correctly. I could tell he wanted to start maybe going backwards and telling the troops to come back and say, like, you know, I misheard Adonai. No, you guys are good. You guys can stay. I could tell that he was about to do that. But then Adonai did, knowing Gideon at this point, did the most amazing thing. He reminded Gideon that he is faithful to his promises, that Adonai is faithful to his promises, and that alone is reason to not allow the fear to control his decisions. And I guess ours, now that I'm thinking about it, I think I was allowing my fear to cause me to doubt and question Adonai and Gideon too. Have I done that in other areas of my life? Sorry. I've been told I'm used to just talking to myself, and I'll try not to do that as much as possible. So back to this amazing, unbelievable, but true event. So after hearing that from Gideon and that Adonai still had plans for us to win with the 300 troops, I also then remember, it's like, well, we do have the advantage, because with the Jezreel Valley, if you guys are familiar with it, the Mennonite camp was in the valley, and we had the higher ground, so we had the advantage. So I say, okay, 300 men, we have the advantage. I think this can work out. We got this. So after losing, of course, the majority of one's army, that can make any person very tired, the stress, the anxieties. So I was ready for bed. I was about to go take a good night's sleep, get ready for the battle in the morning, got all comfortable, warm. And then Coach Gideon out of nowhere comes and jolts me awake. And some people's bosses, I tell you, I'm sure the boss here would never do that to his employees, just jolt them awake out of nowhere. I don't think I've heard of any events such as that, so that's good. But my boss did that. My leader, Gideon, did that to me. But he, in my tired state, I just snapped at him and said, "What is it? Like, I am tired. Could this not wait till morning?" Gideon said, No. Adonai spoke to me again, and he said, "Get up and attack the camp, for I have handed it over to you. But if you are afraid to attack the camp, go down with Pharaoh, your servant." Really, God? Really? Pharaoh, your servant? You had to choose me? You couldn't have chose Nathaniel or anyone else to go down with him? You had to choose me, really. Well, okay. So after getting up and waking up a little bit, my reasoning returned to me, and I said, "Hold on, Gideon. Why are we going at all? Why are we going down to the edge of the camp? Didn't you just say that the Lord Adonai has given the victory over to you? Like, so why are we doing this? Like, why are you afraid? Why are you not trusting God with what He said?" I try not to talk my leader as much, because I'm a good armor bearer and shield bearer, so I don't bad talk as. But I was a little annoyed because we forced in a fight because God wanted to dwindle our numbers and make sure that He got the credit. And you can't blame God, right? Like, you can't blame Adonai. But now the reason we're not fighting even more, why we're holding off, is because of Gideon, because he's afraid. Like, are you kidding me? Like, this guy is just, now he's the reason why we're not going any further with this. But, so yeah, I was getting annoyed with Gideon, but he looked at me just trying to think of a reasoning, but he's like, "You know what, I'm the leader. God, Adonai told me to tell you to come with me, and we're going. And I said, okay, fine, I'm good. Again, I'm a good armor bearer, I'm a good shield bearer, so I'm going to obey orders. So I followed him, and we went. After we got closer to the Mennonite camp, we could start seeing like the people in the camp a little bit better. So I tried to count the camels because, if I can count the camels, then I can know how many soldiers they have, because they usually don't have one-to-one. It's usually like X amount of soldiers to camels. So I was trying to count the camels, but have you guys ever been to like a place with like sand and water? I think it's a beach. Like, you ever been to a beach area and try to count the sand, the grains of sand? Well, that's how many camels they had. They had as many camels as grains of sand on a beach. I couldn't count them. There was too many. So then just imagine, I was like thinking, then just imagine how many more Mennonite army soldiers they had. They had more of them then. So I was like actually about to tell Gideon, it's like, hey, let's go get the 31,000 troops that we sent back. I think we're going to need them. Like, it's scary. Like, this, we cannot win with just 300 people. Like, this, But before I was about to say it, he hushed me and told me to crouch and get low because we were getting close to the spot that Adonai has led him to. And there was two men laying down, getting ready to sleep. Oh, I was jealous of that. I wish I could be sleeping right now in that moment. But anyways, I digress. So we got close, and the one man started talking and said he had a dream. And so I shared his dream with his friend, which I'm not used to having a friend sharing his dreams with me, but people do, I suppose. And he said that his dream was about a loaf of barley that came tumbling down into the Mennonite camp, struck the tent, and the loaf of barley made the tent turn upside down, and the tent collapsed. I was just thinking, this guy's hungry. He needs some bread. And then in that moment, I heard my stomach grumbling, and I was like, I need some bread. It's been some hours since I ate, and I'm hungry. But after that, me and Gideon looked at each other, and we're just confused. It's like, what the heck does this dream mean? Like, besides him wanting some bread. But then his friend instantly knew what that dream meant. He says, oh, I know what it meant. And he said, this is nothing less than the sword of Gideon, son of Joash, the Israelite. God has handed the entire Mennonite camp over to him. He didn't ask any follow-up questions. He didn't ask for any clarity. He just said, oh, that's easy. It means this. Clearly, this guy's an expert in dreams. I guess he's some Joseph with dreams. So Gideon and I turned to each other, just puzzled, how the heck did this guy know what the dream meant? But then it started dawning on us, and we started getting these really big smiles on our faces because we just oh, wait, Adonai told us that the victory would be handed into us, that the victory is ours. He told Gideon that. It's so we realized, well, we know it, Adonai knows it, and now the Mennonites know it, so we got it. And immediately after it dawned on us, Gideon started bowing down in worship to Yahweh and to Adonai for his faithfulness. For God's faithfulness to his promises and staying true to his character dispelled the fear from both Gideon and myself in that moment, because we knew for certain then that we had nothing to fear, that no matter how many troops or camels they had, that we had the victory. In that moment, we were responding to our faith to Adonai, not to our fear. So we went back to our camp, Gideon woke up the 300 troops, and it was around almost midnight. If you're not, again, familiar with our region, we have 3 night watch times from 8 to midnight to 4, and 4 to 8. And so it was a little bit before midnight. We woke up the troops, and Gideon recounted what happened. And I said, no, what he's saying is true. It's happened. I listened. I heard it. I was there. So we can believe this. The victory is ours today, for Adonai has given it to us. I'm a verbal thinker, talker. So as I'm thinking about this event out loud, recounting that part, I think it was God's compassion towards Gideon, actually, to give him the chance to hear from the enemy's camp, to give him that courage, to give him that confidence about the victory. oh, how little I know, especially about the future, and especially when compared to Adonai. So I did get it. My apologies. I'm gonna try to stop talking to myself here. But Gideon then started setting us into three groups, 100 each, because that was common with our area, with our military options. I, of course, was with Gideon and his 100 men. But we were surprised, though, when he told us to only have our shofars and to have pitchers and a torch, because we weren't supposed to charge down with our swords, only those things, which is not normal for our military tactic. We don't normally do that. So I was about to ask him if that idea was from him or from Adonai, but I decided against it because I didn't want to undermine his authority and his leadership in front of the troops. So I was like, well, if you're going to tell us, then this is what we do. And then he continues to tell us that, that the other two troops are to copy what him and his troops do. That, when they blow the shofar, they blow the shofar. When they break the pitchers, they break it. When they light the torches, they light it and hold it high. And then we were all supposed to yell, belonging to Adonai and Gideon. We were supposed to yell that. And after we all understood the battle plan, we moved to our appointed positions around the edges of the Mennonite camp. And this was like around midnight, a little bit past midnight, because the night watch guards changed. They did the rotation, so it was new guards. And then Gideon looked at me and told me to blow the shofar. And just imagine 300 of them, right, at the same time. Okay, before I move on, I know that sounded really impressive, right? I think there was a young guy named Ben Leo that wants to try this before we move on, because, that was pretty cool, I think. You might not have thought so, but I thought so. Here you go. You want to give it one more go? Good try. You can try later. It's a technique. Anyways, I had years of practice of battle training and all to do it. I blew the ram's horn, I blew the shofar, and we broke the pitchers, we lit the torches, we held them out high, and then followed the 300 ram's horn blowing, pitchers breaking, torches lighting up high. It actually was the most beautiful act of worship I've ever seen, just to hear 300 shofars blowing, pitchers breaking, and lights lighting, all out of obedience to what God has told us to do and led us to. We then charged forward with our torches held high, yelling, "The battle belongs to Adonai and Gideon." And we could actually then see the Mennonites waking up in shock and fear and just kind of groggy. And they were in deep sleep. The majority of the camp was sleeping because it's midnight. They weren't expecting an attack, and then they were disturbed by the sounds of 300 ram's horns, pitchers breaking, and 300 men yelling, "The battle belongs to Adonai and Gideon." But then here's what the amazing and even unbelievable thing that happens next. You trust me, that the only way this could have happened if it was by the hand of Adonai himself. Us swordless, us Israelites that were charged with no sword, went to the Mennonites, and the Mennonites who had swords started using the swords against each other. They were not coming after us Israelites who had no defense. They were going after each other and attacking each other with the swords. That could only have been done by the hand of Adonai himself. We could not have planned that. We could not have done anything to have provoked that. For this battle truly belongs to Adonai, and he indeed promised it to us. But, of course, some of the Mennonites started to run away, of course, and they started to head towards the Jordan River. And I thought, Gideon was going to tell some of the men, like maybe 50 men of them, to go after them and to chase after them. But then he actually sends a messenger to go to some of the guys that were benched and to have them cut them off by the Jordan River. And again, I was like, wait, hold on. I thought Adonai wanted us, this 300, that he promised that us 300 men will claim the victory. That he didn't say that we needed reinforcements. I was about to ask Gideon about it, but again, we're in the midst of battle. I was charging and yelling, and so I really didn't have time to ask him. And again, he's the leader, so we just follow his command. But so then he sent messengers to have troops to cut them off there, and then there was Midianites running in another direction. So he sends messengers to Ephraim, to the tribe of Ephraim, and say, "Hey, take some of your men and cut the Midianites off for the princes of Oreb and Zeb," which those poor guys, their mom and dad weren't thinking, Oreb and Zeb, especially Zeb, that guy never had a chance. But they were running away, and so Ephraim's troops come and cut them off, and they caught them and they executed them, and they brought their heads to Gideon to say, "Hey, we were successful. We did what you commanded us to do." I got a little queasy at the moment I saw the heads, so I will spare you the details. So yeah, I'm trying to think. So we had 300 men. We charged. Am I missing any details? Then Ephraim cut them off. The other men cut them off by the Jordan, brought Oreb and Zeb's heads to us, to Gideon. I think that's the battle. That's the details of the battle. I don't think I'm missing any details. But if I am, you know what? If I remember some details, I'll have someone send a letter, and it'll arrive by next week. I'm sure you guys can go over the rest of the details of the battle, if I remember any, next week, okay? But this is I don't want to take up much more of your time. I know you guys have precious time here, but that's the battle of Gideon and how he charged and defeated the Midianites. But since I've been talking, and as you guys know at this point, I process things as I talk out loud. But after sharing these events of being in the Midianite camp, I've been thinking that, I've been getting on Gideon, if you couldn't tell, but he isn't the only actually person that allows fear to dictate the type of actions he performs. I mean, we have our father Abraham. I mean, after all, he was fearful of his life and lied about his wife and let men take his wife. That's pretty messed up. You know what? Actually, there's Moses who allowed fear to have him say to Adonai himself that he doesn't want to speak on behalf of him because he feared how bad of a speaker he was. I mean, I guess even I have let my fear, if I'm going to be honest, decide of some of my decisions leading up to the battle and even during the battle, actually. I got to Gideon, and for no longer seeking Adonai for his advice and wisdom. But when was the last time I did that? I mean, in the law in Deuteronomy, the Lord himself says that if we seek him, we will find him. He told Abraham that he was his shield, and I believe he's been our shield as well to his people. Then I got on Gideon for not giving his whole being and serving the Lord. But when did I last think through how I can love the Lord our God with my whole self? After all, I mean, he has continuously loved us, his people, unconditionally, even after all our mistakes and sins we committed against him. I got on Gideon for worrying about our needs not being met, yet when was the last time I confidently trusted in God for my every need? He supplies us in our every need. Again, in the wilderness, he supplied us with the manna and the water. But he has been with us in every step of our lives. Yet, we clearly have not been with him in every step of ours. Every time I turn and seek Adonai, that is truly when I feel true peace, when I receive both physical and spiritual blessings that I know are from Him alone. I know that He works all things out for His people, for He is God, and He cares for us. I mean, it's easy for me, and I'm sure for you all as well, to look at Gideon and ask, why do you fear, Gideon? Why do you allow fear to dictate your decisions? But are we asking ourselves that question as well? Are we asking ourselves, why do you fear? I'm sure you could fill in your name to that question. Fill in your name, why do you fear? Do you step out in faith when Adonai calls you to trust Him in any area of your life? I know I don't always. Yet, I believe He still loves me, even when I allow fear to make my decisions for me. But I know obeying and trusting Him, because of His faithfulness, rather than the fear, will always bring me peace, success, and unity in my life. And I know it will be the same for you as well. Adonai promises it. I mean, after all, what do we have to fear? I mean, is Adonai not the one who has power over both the body and the soul? I heard this quoted right before I came up. I believe the young man called it Psalms 27, verses 1 to 3, and it reads, "The Lord is my light and my salvation. Whom should I fear? The Lord is the stronghold of my life. Whom should I dread? When evildoers came against me to devour my flesh, my foes and my enemies stumbled and fell. Though an army deploys against me, my heart will not be afraid. Though a war breaks out against me, I will still be confident." I will still be confident, not because my own strength that is influenced easily by fear, but because of the God who is faithful and is true and never breaks His promises to us, and He never breaks His covenant with us either. We are not alone in this faith walk. We actually have God and all the people in the faith, both past and present, standing behind us when we are faced with choices. We're not having to make that choice alone, so we should not allow fear to make that decision, but those in the faith and by God. We live out the kingdom of God that Adonai is calling us to when we trust in Him and lean on Him. Let us not become like Gideon, because when we were chasing the Midianites away, I had this sense that Gideon allowed the Spirit of the Lord, the voice of God, to become silent because he started to become more successful in what he was doing by his own strength. So I just had this sense that he was shushing the voice of God. And I don't think he actually ever told me anytime after that when the Lord has spoken to him, actually. But so let us not become like Gideon and not allow the voice of God to become silent in our lives. Let us get up and be confident in the God who is faithful yesterday, today, and tomorrow, before He calls us to participate in His promises and in His kingdom now. Not at a more convenient time for us, but now. Let's take this time and just pray together. Adonai, we ask You that You continuously take away the fear that lingers around us. Allow us to be confident, not in our own strength or will, but in who You are alone. Allow us to not fear, for why should we? Allow us to fear You, for You are the one who holds both life and power in Your hands. You are the one who all blessing and honor and glory and power belongs to, for You are the one seated on the throne forever and ever. In You we find our confidence, our faith, and our security. In Your name we pray. Amen.
Thanks for watching. If you have any questions, you can reach out to us through our webpage, bbcoxford.com. We'd love to be able to help you as best we can.